talked a little bit beforehand, and when Jake told me this, I was kind of shocked. But in Kansas, you guys actually there's actually the female has the ability pretty shortly after birth to terminate the rights of a father if they don't pay child support. So
That is
what are you
completely
guys
accurate.
having going on in Kansas involving that?
So in Kansas, and this is a rule that not many people even think about, and not many people think to look it up, especially new mothers. But a father has a duty 6 months prior to the birth of a child to support the mother throughout the pregnancy. And if they fail to support the mother throughout the pregnancy, or at least throughout the final 6 months of the pregnancy, then the mother, upon birth of the child, can file a paternity action and ask for severance of the parental rights of the father based on their failure to support the minor child. And that is one that does not get filed very often. We've never filed it. We've had it filed against our clients, which we have rebutted it. So it's a presumption. You can obviously combat it and say, well, since the birth of the child, we've gotten orders for child support, and he's been supporting the child now. But in some instances where, say that a mother files a paternity action, doesn't put a father on the birth certificate, nobody knows who dad is, and then they eventually get service on dad. It's been maybe 6 months after birth, so now the court sees it as you haven't supported this child for, instead of 6 months since birth, for 12 months for the last 6 months while the child was in the womb.
Yeah, that's crazy. And in California, I believe it was in 2020, they started allowing parties to you could file for expenses from the pregnancy. And I'm guessing the 12-week thing, 10 to 12 weeks is usually when the first doctor's appointment is. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming that's where they got the 6 month mark,
Yeah.
was when you're going to start going to the doctor. But yeah, in California, you can retroactively file and request fees from the pregnancy. I think that the big difference here that we talked about in California, in Kansas, the mom can file prior to the birth on this, correct?
No, no. So in Kansas, the mom cannot file. No party can file until the child is born.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think maybe in California you can file prior to the birth, and maybe that's how you keep some opposing parties in the state,
Yeah.
other than just running. But in Kansas, you can't file until there's a live child, and that is something that is extremely frustrating because mothers can kind of jump ship. They can travel to a different state and have their baby and file somewhere else, and then just kind of disappear. And then we've actually gone through that where we had a client where the natural mother, she had the baby and put a different father's name on the birth certificate, which creates a presumption that that father is the parent. So then we had to file an entry of appearance for a paternity action and combat that presumption of the accuracy of the birth certificate. So we had to get a genetics test ordered, and it was a long, drawn out deal where it was 6 months before he even got to really see the child.
Yeah.
It was an extremely drawn out ordeal.
Court takes time, and Morgan made another good comment. And this is in California, you can file prior to the child being born. So this goes back to where it's important. We talk about these topics in terms of states, and I'm in California, Jake's in Kansas. Different states are going to be different. In California, both parties in theory can file prior to the child being born. I've had this a couple times where we went and filed because the mom was threatening to leave the state in one instance and threatening to leave the country in another instance. So we ran and filed, and in California, you have what's called your ATROS, your automatic temporary restraining order, which requires parties to get permission to move with the child. So different states, different rules. In California, if they're threatening to leave, if you believe you're the father and they're threatening to leave, you can run to the courthouse, file, you get them served. They're kind of stuck in the state until they get a judge to sign off on it. And realistically, a judge isn't going to sign off on a move until paternity's been established and the custody proceedings are at least underway.
Right.
So that's one of those things. And then it sounds like so Kansas goes straight to child support. California, it's expenses of the pregnancy.
Yep.
So that's one of those things that's a little bit different. It's going to be different in each state. We've talked about child support in several different states, especially when it's in terms of going back. California, you're not going to go back and get child support. Kansas, you're going to be you could in theory go back, I'm assuming, and get 6 months worth of child support for those 6 months of the pregnancy.